stages.
So I was thinking if you break
Yeah.
We thought that last week because you were having a few twinges.
Yeah,
Are you still
and then,
having them?
yeah. More regularly now as well. More regularly.
Right, because of
Brexit.
Brexit. Yay, things are happening. Okay, my lovelies, so what you're going to do is shuffle back so that the backs of your pelvises are touching, and then just lightly lean into your partner, and you should find that you are completely supported. So you want to have the right amount of tension between you both, so it doesn't feel like you're having to push them back to stop them from crushing you. So obviously just have some communication. And then what you do with your legs is entirely up to you. So you can stretch them out in front. You can take them wide if you want to stretch your inner legs, or you can bring the soles of your feet together in butterfly pose. So again, those of you who are plus 34 weeks, try not to cross the legs if you can avoid it, just because it restricts the blood flow. So you can butterfly, stretch the legs out, or have them straight in front. So just giving your weight into your partner, and just notice how nice that feels. So the reason for bringing this into our labour practice today is to bring into the forefront of your mind this idea of support. So in the birthing workshop, we do a lot of poses where the birth partner provides support in standing poses, in kneeling poses, and they're either physically supporting or they're providing emotional and physical support through things like massage and pressure. So just giving you this idea, the quality of relaxing into support. And just notice how that feels. So when you've got this support behind you, notice how the body relaxes. So there shouldn't be any physical tension in your body because it's being completely held by your partner. Just notice that quality of relaxation. So again, this element is very important, the quality of relaxation. It's incredibly important for labour, and as I often say, for parenting as well, for what comes afterwards. So rest, renewal, relaxation. Very, very important. So just feeling into that quality of relaxation that comes from the support that you're getting from your partner. So there's no effort you're having to make here, other than possibly to breathe. So just turn your attention to your breath. And just notice, how does your breathing feel at the moment? Allow your breath to move effortlessly into your body. And allow your breath to move effortlessly out. And then I'd like you to tune in to the very subtle qualities, energetic qualities of the breath. So when we breathe in, there's a slight upward moving, energetic quality. So as you breathe in, you might be able to tap into this little uplift. And then when you breathe out, there is a downward moving, energetic quality. And this is the one that we are really interested in. So in yoga it's called Apana, and this is down and out energy, and this is exactly what you're looking for during labour, down and out. That's the general trajectory of your birth. So we utilise these energetic qualities of the exhalation. So just focus on your out breath the next few rounds and see if you can really tap into this down and out quality of your exhalation. When I did my training, one of the tutors talked about what they call the cafetiere breath. So these cafetières, when you plunge them down when they're ready to be infused, and she was likening the birthing breath to be like the cafetiere, where you're gently plunging the cafetiere all the way down, and you're doing the same with your breath. Your breath is plunging your baby downwards through the birth canal. So having these kind of visualizations during your labour can be quite useful as well. Okay, so now you're going to take your arms and you're going to
Which button is it?
Is it anybody
Blue
first?
one. Blue one,
Is it for us? It's probably just the dancers. They press the wrong button.
Don't know. Oh well.
Yeah. Good design. Just press the
I'm
wrong
letting
Well, they better not come in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put the wedge, Olwen.
Yeah.
Put the wedge under the door.
Just lock the door.
Yeah, you can't lock it. You can put the wedge under it, and then that'll stop it. Oh, it's outside. Yeah. So a few years ago, somebody came. This is before we had the door buzzer, and I was in the middle of a baby massage class with like naked babies and all. And this bloke, this kind of like senior bloke, just walked into the room, and I was like, "Can I help you?" He said, "Yeah, I just need to get some stuff out of the cupboard." And I'm like, "No, excuse me, I've hired the room, have a class here. No, I won't be long. I just need to get some." And I kept saying, "No," and he wouldn't have it. And he was and I was like, "Look, you need to leave this room. I have mothers and babies. You need." And we had a right old section. And he wasn't going to go. I had to make a complaint. So put the wedge under the door.
It was a young girl, honestly.
Oh, she was a dancer, yeah, she was a dancer, she pressed the wrong button. Anyhow, back to us. Backs of your hands together. You can interlace your fingers if that feels comfortable. And then we're going to use a little ujjayi breath, the ocean breath, where you catch the breath in the back of your throat to make that little snoring sound. And as you breathe in, you're going to gently raise your arms all the way up. Now, you'll need to kind of talk to your partner to just check where you can comfortably get to, because one of you might have a shoulder injury. So let me know when you're... keep going. Whoa, nice one, Donna. Ooh, you're better than me. You know me.
I must have a really
Better shoulders than me.
body.
And then as you breathe out, you lower the arms all the way down. So still use that ujjayi breath. And then same again. So slow, steady ocean breath all the way in, floating the arms up just as high as you can comfortably get them. And then as you exhale, float them all the way back down. Can you do that 2 more times?
I'm very dicky. I didn't really deserve.
So now you're going to just keep the fingers on the left hand link. With my left hand. The hands towards the door, the door side, or you're going to do wall side. They're going to stay linked, and then the other hand you're going to put flat on the floor. So you're going to just reach up with that hand that's still linked. That's on the inhalation. And then on the exhalation, just ease over towards the hand that's on the floor, but try and keep the sitting bones anchored. It's a side stretch. So you just want to feel the side of your ribs and the side of your waist lengthening. And then inhaling, back to center, and exhaling, coming all the way down. And then you're going to swap your hands over. And we're going to do the straw breath. So you're going to breathe in normally, or you can breathe in through the straw. You can suck the breath in through the straw if you want to. But we're focusing on the exhale. So all of the birthing breaths that we use are designed to make the out breath longer, because we want that cafetiere breath to help the labour progress. So on the exhale, you're blowing the breath out, and it's as if you've got a straw in your mouth, or as if you're whistling. So inhaling, either natural or with an inhaled straw breath. And then as you exhale, straw breath, easing over, lengthening through the side of the body. Inhale back to centre. And then exhale. And then just do that once more on each side. Okay, and then we're just going to very slowly come away. So you can either just push up away from your partner, or you can ease over. Just like, thank you very much, Donna. And then you're going to come back into the space that you had before. So just moving back into your space. And then we're going to have a look at what we can do during labour to So the most important thing for active natural labour is to keep moving during contraction. So what we're aiming to do is to utilise the body's natural movement, so that, well, there was various reasons for moving during labour. And I'll talk you through them, but one of the main ones is it helps our baby get into a good position for labour. So we're moving our hips throughout the contractions, and this will help our baby to kind of slot a bit more easily down into the pelvis. And then it's not an exact science, you know, pelvises and babies come in all shapes and sizes, and sometimes it's not a good fit. You know, these things happen, and this doesn't mean that you did anything wrong. It just means that there's a discrepancy between your pelvis and your baby's head, and that's why we're very lucky that we have C-sections here, and we have monitoring. You know, we have medical staff immediately on hand for these occasions. So, but we do our best to give our baby the best opportunity to get into the right place. If that doesn't happen, then we take the interventions. Okay, so we're going to come on to all fours. So this is the go-to position for labour, all fours. It's really comfortable for the lower back, so if you're getting any niggles or twinges already in your uterus, and if your uterine muscles are starting to ripen and you get any on Braxton Hicks, just hanging forwards can immediately start to alleviate those sensations. If you're getting any round ligament pain, this is also a really, really nice position to be in. Now, during labour, I'm not recommending that you go on to freestanding all fours. The best thing to do is actually lean over a ball. And we will do a ball session before Christmas, I keep saying that. We will do one before Christmas. Grab one, grab your balls, get your balls ready, and we'll have one.
What's the reason for that? Like not to like this?
Because you could be in labour for 7 hours doing this, Donna.
27 hours.
Yeah. Your wrists might not hold up. Yeah, and also because it's a lot of effort. I mean, I'll keep you talking for 4 minutes and we'll see how you feel.
Yeah.
But the idea is you want to save as much energy as possible. So if you're leaning over a ball, how many of you are using balls at home? Yeah. How comfortable are they?
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, they are, and you don't even think about it. You can fall asleep on them, can't you? A lot of people have said they've fallen asleep on them. They're really, really comfortable. They take all of the effort out of the arms, giving you more effort for pushing. Okay, so straw breath again, and just start to sway your hips from side to side. Just notice how that feels. So nice, steady straw breath. And you don't have to lean on a ball. If you haven't got one, then just leaning on a chair, leaning on the edge of your bed, anything where you're just supporting your elbows. And we did a nice thing in the partner workshop where you lean on your partner. So your partner is in this position and you lean with your elbows into their back. So you're kind of coming sideways on. It sounds a bit obtuse, but it's really comfortable, isn't it? And actually they don't mind. They didn't complain too much, did they?
Maybe when they got home.
Oh, right.
So my husband complained that his chair was uncomfortable during my labour because I wasn't in the midwife-led unit anymore. And he had a nice comfy chair in that bit.
Oh, they suffer so much, don't they?
It's lucky he's alive now.
Okay, so just these little straw breaths with the...
Remembering what you said about, like, obviously it creates more space for the baby as well. Because when I'm sitting on the sofa sometimes and she gets in a funny position, it feels like she's really pushing against like a weird position that she's not usually in, that feels uncomfortable for me and probably her as well. I'm like, right, I'm on all fours now, get back into your normal position, please.
Scan today, and even at 20 weeks, they had to move me because she was stuck in the corner, and then literally they just like lengthened my body and like
she shot out.
Yeah, it's so mad that and literally all on camera, and it's just mad that even at that, like she was literally stuck in one corner, and like just by lengthening. Then
And that's really interesting. So your scan person could work that out, but they don't figure that that's going to work in labour. When babies are in awkward positions. Okay, so from here, when your contractions stop, you rest. So you can come and sit back on your heels for now, but if you're on the ball, you just carry on resting on the ball. We'll just have a few little stretches. So you're going to step right foot forwards, unless that's not going to be comfortable in your pelvis, in which case keep the legs together. And what you might want to do is place a brick between the legs. Is that okay? You look surprised. So again, lunging positions, really, really, really good for helping with positioning, because you're opening up a lot of space. But we're not going to do any lunging to start with, we're just going to ease out the wrists. So take the arms up over the head and just circle the wrists around. That's just to alleviate any tightness you might have in your wrists. So now do you understand why you need a ball?
I've got my ball.
So yeah, it's just too much on the wrists and the arms and the shoulders to do that for a long time. And then come all the way down. Now you're going to bring your hands, so again ideally you'd be on your ball and you'd be rolling and it'd be nice and high. What you can do instead, if you've got long arms and a long body and you're not too far pregnant, you can probably get your hands on the floor and it'll be quite comfortable. However, for some of you, if you're quite heavily pregnant and you maybe are on the short side, you're going to need to maybe make a bit of a tower, like lip bricks. I've got a couple more. If you want a couple, then make a bit more of a tower there, maybe. So just put that one underneath. That will give you a bit more harm. That's it. And then we're just going to gently circle the hips. So again, we're doing hip circles, but in this lunging position, what we're doing is actually creating a little bit more space. You can take the foot wide, so don't feel that you have to be in this neat and tidy position that if you're doing an Iyengar yoga class, it'd probably get you to be in this precise alignment. But you can kind of take the leg out, drop the foot out, so it doesn't really matter for labour. We're not looking for precision. What we're looking for is to get that big open space in the pelvis. So straw breath again. So this position, if you do it periodically during the first stage, then there's a good chance that your baby will really be able to get into a comfortable position for labour. And you can change direction, you can circle in the opposite direction. And then coming back onto all fours, and then you're going to step the left foot forwards and then just push all the way up. Take the arms up over the head again and just rotate the wrists, the hand ankles. And then release the hands all the way down. And again, you can take that foot wide, let it drop out to the side, and just begin to make circles with your hips, working with your straw breath. Just coming to stillness and stepping the foot back. And then you can make a space for your baby, roll the spine to the ceiling and just sink the hips all the way back onto your hips. So make sure you've got enough room there to really get your baby comfortable. And if you've got any niggles in your lower back, you might even want to sway the hips from side to side. And then gently push all the way back up. And we're going to do, so here's a really good exercise. At the peak of labour, just before we get into stage 2, which is the pushing stage, the contractions are coming through at about 1.5 minutes, and then there's a tiny gap, and then you have another one. It's called transition because it's this transitional point. It's the peak of labour. So the peak of labour isn't at the end of labour, it's kind of in the middle, at that point where you get to the 10 centimetre dilation, and then you have this kind of, that's when the contractions are really intense, and your cervix opens, and then there's a little bit of a lull. Sometimes, not everybody gets this, but there's a little bit of a lull where the body rests. and then the contractions kind of drop down a little bit to a more comfortable rhythm, and then that's your kind of pushing phase. But at the peak of that contraction, they're coming through a minute and a half. So what I quite like to do is a bit of fun, is leave it there for a minute and a half. So you're going to come onto all fours, and you're going to work with the Ha breath. Now bearing in mind that the wrists might be a little bit uncomfortable, so if they are, then come into the lunge position and do it from there until if the wrists start to ache. But we're going to do a minute and a half. We're going to do a figure of 8 this time, because there are 3 hip movements that I recommend, and you can make any hip movements up you like, but it's quite easy to do a sway, a circle, or a figure of 8. So you're going to do Ha breath, figure of 8, so moving one hip in one direction, other hip in the other direction. So when you're ready, 3, 2, 1, go. So Ha breath is like a vocalized version of the ocean breath, where you're just whispering the Ha sound. It's like a silent roar. So it has a lot of power to it. So it's a really good breath to bring into your labour if you're feeling a little challenged in terms of confidence, power and energy. So this silent roaring effect can often bring you back into a real place of power. And you're only halfway through. Keep going. Last 10 seconds, keep going. And then you're done. So you just come back now, maybe up, and just circle the wrist. So it's quite a long time, isn't it? Well, it can feel like a long time. So that is likely to be the length of your contractions right at the very peak. But bear in mind that it doesn't get beyond that. They don't just keep on going up and up and up and up and up. Once you get to that point, you're kind of over the hump, so to speak. So although it feels very intense, and it's usually the point where a lot of mums say, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, I'll change my mind. It's usually the part where things kind of peter off a little bit after that point. So it's worth bearing that in mind, so that you don't kind of get yourself unduly worried that you're not going to be able to manage what's happening, because nothing's going to happen beyond that. It's going to peter off. So we're going to have a look at some squatting, and then we'll come up to standing. So we had a little go at this last week. So again, if you're pelvically challenged, you may want to not do this, and do some of the poses that you found useful instead. One of those is like crossing the legs behind, squeezing the thighs, or maybe just squeezing the brick, or clamshell, or whatever you find is really useful for you. Otherwise, if you're good to go with your squatting, then you're going to stay on all fours. Take the feet quite wide. So again, one of the things we do wrong in squatting is we keep the feet too close together. You want to take the feet really wide, and then when you walk your hands back and lift the knees off the floor, you've got quite a lot of space. Oh, this knee's not playing fair today. You've got quite a lot of space to work into. So again, if you're struggling with the squat, then it may be that your feet are too close together. And you can just swivel around. So this is a good preparation for squatting. So you don't have to actually move. So you don't have to actually hold the squatting position for any particular length of time.
When these contractions are at that minute and a half, what's the gap between
Wave like
Not very well. Yeah, maybe a second or two. Yeah, but I did read that at that point where they're at their most kind of relentless, it doesn't last very long at all. Only like a couple of minutes. So if the contractions are a minute and a half, you've only got like maybe a couple of occasions of it being. Does anyone, those of you that have had babies, talk us through the transition point.
By that point, I'd had it.
Yeah,
Which I also can't feel it.
general, but I don't feel like I failed for panicking at that time. Do you know what I mean? At that point when it was really bad, it was I don't know. I think it does feel a bit like.
I know I couldn't have done it without the epidural.
Well, I think you would have done, but it wasn't very.
It's
I don't know. Yeah, it was hard, and I think after,
It made it more enjoyable.
well, after
for me.
a long time, after a long time of having contractions, it's very, very tiring to have those very intense ones.
Yeah.
And I was really grateful to have that sleep. So I can't really describe the transition because I didn't
I
feel
suppose
that
would be pushing though soon after that anyway. So my midwife said to me last appointment, she said, you know, by that point it's almost like because you've got a goal, because you're pushing through them, it's almost like they become different, like easier, not easier, but the contraction you've got a name, haven't you? So,
Well, I think I've done much more reading this time. I feel much more prepared. So I think I did panic last time. But I think it's quite common to have a big surge of adrenaline just before you're about to push, which is why I think a lot of people go, I can't do it because they're like, I need to run away. Like that adrenaline thing is like I've got to run away.
But the adrenaline is there to help you. That last surge.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it this time, if that makes anybody feel it better. I'm quite excited. I'm not
that is really encouraging.
I'm not sort of thinking, oh, that's going to be awful. Like, I'm excited.
There's been like people that I know that haven't done all of this that get worried about it, and the people ask me, and I'm like, oh, I feel alright. I feel like I know what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
If you have an epidural, can you feel the contraction?
You can feel the contractions, but it like the pain. This is going to come on the video. The pain is about as bad as having a poo. It's like not very painful
When
at
you
all.
push it, do they tell you when?
See, that's the thing. So
You don't
because
know, isn't
my
it?
pushing wasn't very effective because I couldn't feel my contractions. So they're saying to you, push. And they're like pushing to your bum. I can't feel my bum. I don't know where my bum is. It could be my head for all I know right now. Because mine was so good, which was amazing because it gave me so much relief.
Yeah.
And it did mean that when I needed the instrumental delivery, it wasn't painful in the slightest, and it wasn't traumatic. Like in my head, I thought instrumental delivery would be trauma and all of this. It wasn't at all. It was really calm, really completely fine, no pain at all. But it did mean I couldn't feel my pushing. I couldn't feel. They had to tell me when I was contracting. They had their hand on my stomach and said, "Right, you're contracted now. You need to push," because I literally couldn't feel anything.
So I wondered if they'd have like a machine or something like.
They do. So they have
a monitor belt on if you have an epidural.
So they can tell when you're contracting.
Because two things, they need to see how the baby's doing, and also they need to know when you're having your contractions. But the thing is, if you have an epidural, you're mostly lying down on your back.
So you're more
And
likely
I
to
think
have
that's where
instrumental
your
delivery.
issue probably was with the forceps, and I think mine wasn't very quick for that reason as well. I must have been 6 hours under epidural. You know, it wasn't like epidural and then it came out.
Yeah, no,
it was a long
epidural
time.
probably, I don't know because I can't remember, probably like 6, 7 p.m. I would guess, because I went into hospital at about 4, 5 p.m. and I asked for it straight away. So I'd say 6, 7 p.m. was probably when I had the epidural on, and she was born at 2 a.m. the following. But I was fully dilated by midnight, and then by 10 o'clock, and then they give you like, if you have an epidural, they give you like a 2-hour.
Well, 2 hours is the window for pushing anyway.
They
They
let
did
it wear
a
off
wait.
a little bit.
Yeah, they give a 2-hour wait,
Okay.
and then you have 2 hours of pushing. And because she didn't come out in the 2 hours of pushing, so my 2-hour wait was 10 till 12. 12 o'clock was
But then again,
2 hours. So then she was yanked out at 10 past 2.
That is a textbook. Oh, it's been 2 hours.
Yeah,
You know what I
mine,
mean?
she
It
wasn't.
seems
She wasn't
silly,
in
doesn't it?
distress. There was no heartbeat
Yeah.
error. There was no nothing. But they just said she's not coming 2 hours. Like
Go
she's not
Get
coming.
involved. Yeah.
And at that point, you
And the trouble is when
So
you're lying
tired,
on your
just
back, you haven't got the manipulative power of movement in your pelvis to actually get your baby to have gravity on their side
Yeah.
for them. Because when you're lying on your back, you're effectively pushing uphill, and your baby can get in all kinds
I
of.
think they
awkward
say you can go on
positions.
your side with them. Like they can try and help you go on your side with an epidural, but
But I guess
I think you have to
you can't
specifically
feel
not ask for that because I think they naturally just keep you
I
on
think
your
it's
back.
safer, I
don't they?
guess.
With your spine, isn't it? Bit like an eagle in your spine.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really remember that bit. I guess it is still there the whole
I
time,
don't
isn't
know.
it?
It depends because sometimes they're left in, and sometimes it used to be just an injection.
When I had it, they literally had to take it out after I gave birth. It's
Yeah, you have
sit
like
on
a,
each
cannula.
you have a
leg.
drip. Yeah, you have
Yeah.
a drip in
Yeah.
like a cannula, I think.
Right.
Because
Yeah,
then you press
that's
the button
new.
for more or
Yes,
less sort of
it
thing.
used to just be a spinal injection. Okay, right, let's get you up. So from your squatting position, you can just roll up to standing. And then you're going to come against the wall. So we're going to do some work against the wall. So this is another position that you can adopt where you've got some support. So you just want to find a little bit of wall space. And have your feet fairly close towards the wall and then just step one leg backwards, doesn't matter which one. And then the front leg is going to be bent. So front leg bent, back leg straight. And you can stretch the arms up the wall. And here you can do a sway from side to side, or you can do a full circle. So you can decide what movements feel right for you. So again, there's a variety of movements and techniques, but you might just choose one and do it all the way through. And I've had mums who've done that. They've done a V breath and a figure of 8 all the way through, on all fours, job done. And that's absolutely fine. Whatever works, works. You don't have to do all of the techniques and all of the breath. There's not a tick, there's not a checkbox to make sure you do all of them. I'm just giving you lots of ideas and you choose the ones that feel comfortable. It's just that some of these breaths have various different energetic qualities. So the ha breath is for power, energy, confidence. So just have a few ha breaths as you do this movement on the side. So Jessie, what I would say there, if you take your right foot slightly, no it's not, is it Jess? Yes, it is Jess. Take your right foot slightly wider. Yes, now try circles there, see how that feels. Yeah, you're in a tightrope position. You have the feet right one behind each other, which means your hips have nowhere to go. Yeah, so you want your feet kind of hip distance apart. So now, step your feet in. And then step the other foot backwards. So front knee bent, right leg straight. And then you're going to make a little kind of holder for your head. So you're going to interlace your fingers together and then just release the index finger and your thumb. So you get this little diamond shape, and then your elbows go against the wall and you place your hands into that little space that you've made between the thumb and your first finger. So you're kind of resting your head into this holder that you've created for your hands. The same thing again, so either hip circles or little sways, and now you're going to use the B breath. So this has a very different quality. This is calming and soothing both for yourself and for your baby. So B breath is just humming quietly as you breathe out. another standing pose that we can do is just freestanding, and we can again do a variety of different moves. You can hold on to something, you can stand up and hold the back of a chair, stand up, hold the back of your bed. There's also lots of moves where your partner can come and maybe stand behind you and move with you, or they can stand in front of you, you can kind of slow down. So there are all these things that, you know, like I was saying earlier, use your birth partner. This is what this birthing workshop is for. Use your birth partner. You know, have them there for support, so they can work with you. And actually it's nice for them. If they're going to come into the labour, you actually want them to be useful and occupied. Otherwise, they're just a pain in the arse, you know, because they're checking the phone, or you know, you'll be looking after them. So it's quite useful to give them jobs, give them things to do. And midwives are quite good at this, actually. So if midwife sees that a birth partner is panicking, they'll send them off on an important errand to get ice, tea, or something. They'll kind of make up with something that really needs to be done, and they'll be, yes, we need ice, and off they go. And then the midwife and the mum can let's crack on, let's have this baby while they're out the room.
Should you keep hydrated?
Yes,
Yeah.
that was my
Because,
mistake. That's why I needed
Yeah.
loads of
You know,
fluid.
you're doing exercise,
Yeah.
you need to
Well, also they're quite hot. It's quite hot giving birth.
boiling.
The rooms are quite warm, but also the actual act of giving birth, everything's happening around the belly, so you get quite hot yourself.
Yeah.
So keep hydrated.
Drink
A lot
more
of the
than you
times
think.
they try to not let you have too much, because on the rare occasion that you need to have a general. And this is a really rare thing. It's if your placenta. So two reasons why you need to have a general. Block your ears if you don't know. 4th degree tear, where you have to be stitched up, and the second one is if your placenta doesn't come completely away and there's some placenta retained, and they're both quite dangerous, and you need to have surgery. It's a general anaesthetic. They can't do it under local. And because of that, they try to make sure that you don't have too much to eat and too much to drink, because obviously when you have a general, that is contraindicated. So you won't be allowed to blood, you know. They might try to hold you back. So it's more about gentle hydration rather than, And they often say like suck on ice chips as well. I don't think my teeth would have ever let me do that, but
Sports drinks as well. I ended up 2, so that's why I needed loads of fluids, because I didn't drink enough during.
Right.
So then my fluid levels were too low, and you have to pump me full of fluids.
Yeah,
I didn't
it's a
drink.
good point though. Yeah, you do need to rehydrate.
So you can't get it right either way.
No, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
I just know I'm like drinking loads of water.
But if you know what's
It's like
normal for
exercise,
you,
isn't it?
That's
yeah,
good though.
that's it. So the thing is, it's also it's like knowing what's right for you, because you might know that you drink so much every hour, and you might have a care provider who is going, oh, that's too much water. So you then either you or Rosie needs to say, no, this is normal for Pippa. This is what she normally drinks, just to keep herself
We're like, give me the
rehydrated.
wine.
So bear that in mind. This is again where the birth partners come in handy as the advocate. They need to feel powerful and confident enough to be able to say, actually, no, this is fine, this is normal, and we can, we're going to carry on. Okay, freestanding. So figure of 8, freestanding. Again, so you can just imagine making the shape and just noticing how your baby is going to be helped into position if you do this movement. So when you're doing this movement, the knees need to bend. So if you keep the legs straight, actually what's moving is your spine. Can you see the difference? So to make this movement, it's my spine that's moving, and you don't want the spine to move, you want the hips to move. So you need to bend, you need to get kind of down and Brazilian. Kind of samba type movement. So you really want to get into the pelvis. So bend the knees as much as you can. It's a little bit like having a hula hoop. Anybody done hula hooping any time lately? You have to, the spine stays straight. See, hula hooping, spine is straight. If you do hula hooping like this, it's just going to slide down. So it's all from the pelvis. And then just go back to your B breath, that humming breath. To stillness. And again, if you've got a long wait, if you're in the earlier stages, you might have a bit of a wait before the next contraction comes, so you rest. Once that contraction stops, you rest. Conserve your energy, rehydrate, and wait for the next contraction to come along. So in addition to using these pelvic movements as a way of helping your baby get into a favourable position for delivery, the second thing that's happening is when we're moving the hips, we're helping the baby's head to push down on the cervix. So you are helping and improving the cervical dilation. So we're going to do a bit of partner work again. So can I borrow you again, Donna? So I'm going to be Donna's birth partner, and I'm going to lean against the wall so I've got some support. So I'm properly rooted. I'm going to bend my knees, and Donna's going to come and face me. I'm going to put my arms like this, and she's just going to rest her forearms on my forearms, and just just hold wherever. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and then bend the knees, and you're just going to do some circles. And then I'm fully supported here, and Donna probably feels quite supported. Okay, so do you want to get back to your equal-sized partner? And so one of you goes against the wall to be the partner. We will swap over.
Is that right? Or
I would, wherever you feel most comfortable, because obviously you might be there a while, so you want to make sure that you're really comfortable.
Oh, okay.
So there's two things to bear in mind. The birth partner needs to be comfortable as well. And then you can do your little breath, so your straw breath again, so just breathing in through the nose, blowing the breath out. Right, you with me, Amy? You're going to do some circling. Right, perfect. So, that's it. Bend the knees, just circle and even with the crossing legs, when you're getting there, you're swap over if you haven't already. So that's just another thing that you can do. Can you feel how that would kind of dilate your cervix if you were doing this, moving your hips every time you have a contraction? So, this is why sort of getting all these things in your mind. So hip circling for baby position, hip circling for cervical dilation, and then the third one is pain relief. Yeah? There's a world of difference between
being static when you're having a contraction, whether that in whatever position that's in, or moving. And what happens when you move your pelvis around is that you're kind of dispersing the sensation. So it's not so intense. You're not kind of making the pain go away, you're just approaching it from a different perspective. So it's a little bit like, you know, if you hit your thumb with a hammer, if you just hold the thumb there, it's going to go, but you do this, and and you do this, and you shake it, and you move it, because you want the pain to disperse. And it's the same thing with the hip circles. But there's another element to it as well. This is more psychological, and this is control. You are in control. And again, there's a world of difference between having a painful or discomfort kind of presented to you, where you can't do anything about it, and having that same discomfort but using a tool to help you with it. You're in control. And the psychology of that is really powerful, particularly with childbirth, because it's something that's completely out of your hands. It's probably the only time in your life, in your body, where you're going to be completely out of control. You can't do anything about this. It's coming. It's a non-stopping train, and it's coming, and there's nothing you can do about it. So there is a real element of lack of control there. And, you know, most of us wouldn't like that, particularly if you tie that up with, it's not going to feel nice either. So lack of control, not going to feel nice. So you can see psychologically how that can start a snowball effect. And so the moving and the breathing together puts you back in the driving seat. Yet the train has left the station, it's not stopping anytime soon, it's a bit uncomfortable, but you are now in the driving seat. So you've got a little bit of control, you can steer the train, yeah? And you've got tools to make the journey a little bit more comfortable. So that's the third reason why we move the hips. It's the third reason why we move during the first stage of labour. Okay, so second stage, delivery. You don't move. So hopefully, ideally, you've done all of the shifting and the cervix is dilated 10 centimetres, baby's in a nice position. So now your job is to push. So that's the cafetiere. The cafetiere is going to plunge down now to get your baby out. So not really a lot of options here. The only one I would recommend not trying is lying on your back, because it's the worst position. It's like, would you have a poo lying on your back? Yeah, it's just not the most ideal position, and it's not very nice to kind of equate having a poo and having a baby, but it's the same physiological process. You know, it's down and out. So different options for actual delivery positions. Best position of all, squatting, which is why we spend quite a lot of time practicing these little squats. You don't have to squat freestanding. So that's the key thing. So if you find that squatting is quite troublesome, because your hips won't do it or your ankles won't do it, it's absolutely fine, because actually most of the hospitals now have these various pieces of equipment that will harness you and hold you in a squatting position. They're all essentially a modern form of the birthing stool, which is what women used for centuries because they were so effective. Little low stool, looked like with a wooden toilet seat on it. So basically a stool with a hole in. It was low enough to put mum into a squatting position, but you were completely supported. And that's what these modern things are doing. They're all doing the same thing. You might give birth in the pool, in which case you're going to be supported. That's another thing, we haven't talked about the birthing pool. Birthing pool automatically gives you a bit more pain relief. The warm water soothes everything. You can't lie down in it, so that's one of my reasons I like it. You can't lie down. But you can also get into a really comfortable sort of semi-squatting position, elbows on the back, and some of them have little ledges in as well where you can park your bum, come into a nice squatting position. And actually birthing into, you can sit down if you want, sorry ladies, making you all stand up. Birthing a baby into a pool is actually one of the kindest ways of delivery, because you're moving your baby from like to like, particularly if you're in a darkened room. And this is another thing to talk about, you know, what do you want your room to look like?
You know, hospitals are generally overlit, and actually what women want when they're labouring is safe, dark, warm. And this is primal. This is what women have always needed to give birth, those three things. And so it's perfectly within your rights to put all the lights on.
I had to go as well with like using my ball and trying to squat while sort of holding on.
Yeah, you can't squat with your ball. Yeah.
I sort of managed it. It was
I've
like,
tried it.
yeah, because I can't get my heels on the floor when I squat. So I was trying to find ways to support myself.
Where are you having your baby?
At Burton Hospital.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Side of the bed on chair.
Yeah.
Hold on, yeah.
Pool and birthing pools if you
They have got the
interested in
birthing
that.
pool.
Yeah, they've got a new birth suite.
Whether
that's
you
just
can
opened
use it or
apparently.
not, but they have got what's called a low tech room, which they've got a fair amount of equipment in. They've also got the beds that open up. They kind of split open in the middle. You can put your elbows on the bed and squat through the bed. So there may be a few options, but again, it's something to put on your birth plan. I would like to squat. If I can't get into the birth pool, then I'd like a room with something in that's going to allow me to squat. And if there isn't, then birth partner sits on a chair. We did this in the birth workshop. Sits on a chair and you back up and you squat with your elbows on the thighs. So there are ways of doing it. But just be careful with the ball because it's not stable. That's the only thing.
Like push against it.
So squatting, best position. And the second stage of labour isn't anywhere near as long as the first. Again, you only get 2 hours. You're only allowed 2 hours to push baby out. But if you're in a good optimum position, it should be more than doable. It's only when you're lying on your back, and particularly if you have an epidural and you don't even know when to push or how to push or where to push, all of these things, then that's when sometimes it can take longer than 2 hours because everything's against the physiology of what's happening. So you want down and out, you want gravity, lots of exhales, long exhales, and mooing. So mooing. These low guttural sounds that women naturally adopt when they are birthing, and it's something that nobody really talks about this until they do, but most women moo when they're birthing because it's just that low sound. So if you do ooh, if you do that, feel what happens to your belly. Ooh. Can you feel that? Automatically works your abdominal muscles when you make these low sounds. And then it just loops into a sound. So it's not uncommon for women to low when they're having babies. So if you can't squat, then side lying. So particularly those with SPD, you need to take a little bit of care with actually how far apart the knees go. So on the sheet that I gave you, it does say that prior to labour, maybe in the last week or so, you take a measurement of how far apart you can comfortably get your knees pain-free. And that is your guide, really, because what you don't want to do is make it worse in labour. And you have to make it known on your sheets as well, because if you have like forceps delivery and stuff, you need to be a bit careful. Not that there's much you can do with the forceps delivery, but just make them aware. Is there any other options? Because I've got SPD. But yeah, side lying. So this is another, because you can actually push into a wall or the end of your bed, and because what you're looking for when you're birthing is some kind of purchase, something to push into, so that you can use that to bring your baby down. So they're really the two delivery positions. And isn't it funny that how often do you see that? Never. You never see a woman in anything you watch, unless you're watching.
How would they come out?
How would they come out?
That's so stupid. Obviously, your leg must be in the air, but where's your pull down?
No, they come out the same way. They come out because the force of your contractions and your pushing is pushing them out.
But your coccyx has got to open, so if your coccyx is on the floor, then that can't open. Whereas if you're on your side, then
Or
that
squatting.
way opens, like front to back. That makes sense. That's the bit you want to open.
It's
not-
you want the biggest
not that
pelvic
way.
outlet, and when you lie on your back, you've got the smallest pelvic outlet, and your sacrum, like so your sacrum and your coccyx hinges, it mutates, and the baby pushes it out of the way with their head. But if you're lying on your back, they can't, so you reduce the amount of space you've got.
Your body pushes it out though. It's not, nobody pulls it out. It would push out anyway. It's the weirdest thing. It just
Because
pushes
actually,
out.
once the head has come through, I mean, we looked. Do you remember when we did this in the birth workshop? Once the head has come through, and then the shoulders, baby slides out.
If you follow the Positive Birth Company on Instagram, there's loads of like really good positive birthing videos, because you don't want to watch like the traumatic ones on, you know, like one born every minute or whatever. They're like the worst thing you can watch. The Positive Birth Company.
Yeah, positive birth movement.
And they put loads of videos of like of women giving birth, and they are full and graphic and whatever, but they're all like positive birth experiences, and it's really good to watch and read positive birth stories than hear like the negatives. And
Well,
then
I think
see,
it's quite normal
them
for
come
it
out.
to be positive as well.
Yeah.
One born every minute, that's a toe show.
And even
To
mine,
make
like I
people
say,
watch
having a
it.
forceps delivery, it was not how like I had imagined this traumatic whatever. Like it was really
was calm
relaxed and it
trauma.
was calm, and it wasn't like, it didn't feel in any way traumatic to me at all. The only reason I want to avoid it again is the recovery, not because of the actual birth. The actual birth was quite pleasant. I came out to the Lion King and it was, you know, whatever.
Oh, amazing!
It wasn't that one actually. I think it was Can You Feel the Love Tonight? But you know, had a bit of Disney music going on. It was very like it was fine and nice and relaxed, even in that circumstance, sort of thing. So yeah, I'd say it was better than I thought.
It's good to know that they're doing that. I mean, you know, Instagram didn't exist when I first started doing this, so it's good that they're doing that now and having birth. So yeah, I mean, I think it's worth remembering that everything you see on the TV is there for dramatic effect.
Yeah, don't watch House of Dragons at the moment. I don't know. Oh, I have. Yeah, not what you want to watch.
Well, that's medieval birth. I mean.
Yeah.
You don't need
You
to.
said they've done it like that for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
I can't do the perineal massage because I don't have the it's not working for me, like at all. How can you give birth so you don't tear, or like a minimal tear?
Water. Birthing pool.
Would you
Drinking
recommend
alcohol.
animal or whatever?
Yeah, if you have epidural, you're not going to be able to get in the pool.
I don't want the epidural if I don't have to, but like the option is there.
Yeah.
But, like, what can you have in the pool?
Paracetamol.
I just wonder what you can have actually.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether the
But
pethidine, because so you have this kind of like growing scale. So you've got paracetamol, gas and air, pethidine, epidural.
I feel like I've read something that with pethidine that you might not be able to have that in colour, but I'm not a doctor, so.
Yeah, I would imagine there's a cut-off at some point where you have less control over what you're doing, and that would be the cut-off point to getting in the pool. Because for safety reasons, because if you get really drowsy, you could go under. So yeah, that's probably makes a lot of sense actually. Maybe even with the gas and air.
I think you can have gas
Gas and
and air.
air, yeah,
but
okay, you can.
have
So
that.
but that's the cut-off. No pethidine.
Don't worry about tearing. It's okay. You'll be alright.
What is 4th degree line?
That's really rare.
Yeah,
that is
you're-
rare.
you're
It's like
be
2%,
alright.
but I'm like, it's gonna be. It's gonna be. I have the tiniest pelvis, tiniest
Breathe.
torso. She's really fat.
So the other thing I would say, if that is a serious consideration, you can buy these things.
Oh yeah, that's £70. No chance. I already looked at that. I was like,
Don't get a second hand.
I love
Is that like the animal thing?
I don't know what it is, but don't
it's
let
like
our
a
face
pond.
on
Yeah, that's what
it.
it's called. Yeah, it's called animal.
Yeah, and it's £70 for the privilege of that.
Oh, is it?
I'm not
So
But
I'm
then,
considering
you
getting
know,
that this
if you have
time.
4th-degree tears, that 70 quid is going to
Yeah.
look like a very good purchase.
I know two friends who've used that one, and both of them, first labours didn't have. It could have happened either way, but they didn't have any tearing on first birth and stuff. So I'm considering getting it this time because it would be worth it. I say it's worth it to tear if it does work.
It is. You know, I mean, and there's degrees of tearing. I mean, and it depends on that really, doesn't it? It's like, oh, hindsight is great. If only we could have some hindsight. But those are your options. So either having some kind of mechanical thing that will get down there. Dildos are a lot cheaper than £70. Just get the biggest. Biggest and longest, and then your arms won't have to. But you know, it's that sort of thing. And water, and if your partner can't or won't, or you don't want them to do it, because that's the other option, isn't it? Having your partner do it. Time to train him, Amy. Training in the nether regions, come in handy. Yeah, I mean, not everyone's comfortable with that, you know, and I've said that before. Some partnerships they're all for it and it's fine, and some are like, no, they're not coming in anymore. And it's got to be something that you're both comfortable with.
But you saw him when he was trying to massage my back, like that did not work. So I don't think that's gonna. Or he's just gonna really stretch it. Heavy-handed.
Maybe you do tear it all the cover. I had a
I've read a really scary story where it was like,
oh yeah, that's
Stop reading scary
That's
stories.
why you need to follow the positive birth company, read all the positive stuff, like forget all the trauma. There will always be trauma in everything.
Normal, and you just get stitched back up and
Yeah.
you're back on your bike in 6 weeks. You'll be fine.
Through
I
wasn't. But like, well, 2 years later, but still, now that like it's fine.
It heals really quickly as well. That area, it like
It's very moist, so it's like perfect healing. Healing conditions.
And also, what you have to remember about post-birth is that your body is just shining with good energy because you're feeding a baby, and so you have so many good hormones and good immunity stuff and everything else that your body needs at that time. It's producing. So there's another reason why it heals really quickly, because nature needs you on your feet. You've got a toddler to look after. You know, human babies need a lot of looking after. Animal babies, they're up and off. Human babies need a good year to set them on their way. So nature provides for that. So it's, you know, like we were saying in the birth workshop, how the placenta provides the last little bit of nutrients and blood that the placenta gives to the babies, what they need going forwards after birth. And so the human body does the same thing for you. Yeah, but in terms of tearing, they're your options really.
well, I'll wait until next week at least because I need to see whether she's coming out my stomach or not.
Yeah, because that'd be a pointless waste of money, wouldn't it? Doing all
We can
that.
lash our stitches down.
But at least I won't be leaking out of everywhere. Hopefully.
Yeah, which brings us on to the third point, actually, isn't it? It's which, you know, after your baby has been delivered, you then have a slightly smaller delivery, which is the placenta, and we often forget about this very important part of the process because you're holding your baby at that point. So
I don't remember that bit at all.
yeah, most people, why would you?
Yeah.
You're holding the baby, you know.
Yeah.
I just go.
No, I knew I'd delivered it, but I didn't find it an issue.
Oh, cool. Oh yeah, that happened.
It did just pop out though. It wasn't like.
Yeah, well, it will pop out. If you've birthed a human baby, the placenta is like a quarter of the size of it, so it will just slip out. You'll carry on having contractions, so the contractions don't stop, and actually the contractions don't stop really for a couple of days. You end up having little kind of almost like the opposite
When you
of
feed it.
post Braxton Hicks.
Yeah.
So don't think that it's all going to stop straight away. So the contractions carry on again so that the placenta can be delivered, and then you might sort of keep having the odd twinges for a couple of days.
They're not.
You don't
They're
coach
not
on.
painful ones though. They're not.
Just
They're
like
not.
Braxton
They're not
Hicks,
like
just
proper
like-
contractions. They're
It's
not.
just like Braxton Hicks, like just
Like period
irritable
cramp type, like
Yeah.
when you're feeding initially, you sometimes get it, but it's not. It's not
because
that
also
bad.
your
just
uterus
shrink
has
that,
got to
yeah.
shrink.
Yeah, shrink, yeah.
So a lot of the little cramping pains you get for the 6 weeks are the uterus.
It was a couple of days a minute ago.
No, the uterus is
Over
over
6 weeks, it shrinks.
You don't get 6 weeks of contractions, but you might get gripey little niggly pains because your uterus is.
You don't contract too nice out.
No.
They're not that bit's not that much.
Okay. I was like, oh no.
You feel them, but it's fine.
I think that's really it, isn't it? Anybody got any other questions? No, good. It'll all be fine. Okay, well that's bang on 8:30. So marvellous. So I hope that helps, particularly those of you who are imminent. So a little bit of a refresher really, as most of you came to the birthing workshop. I will be looking at doing another one of those in the new year, so if you are keen on doing one of these sessions with your birth partner, we'll set some dates up in January. Okay, have a wonderful week, everybody. Anybody got any requests for next week? What would you like to cover? What would you like to do?
I'm on holiday.
You're not here next week. Okay, lovely.
I was going to say, can I be really cheeky? Because today's 4.
Go on then, because you missed last week anyway, so go on then.
I'm flying on
Oh,
this.
hang on, I need my glasses on now then, don't I? That's probably good because we've got quite a few new people next week, so that gives.
Obviously, if I lose my place, then I'll do.
No, you won't lose your place.
Yeah, if I can skip a week and then do week 1 the week after. Julie, do you want me to press stop?
Yes, please.
Whoever was watching that,